Dude, Sonic 3 was so good!
That was so good.
Except... It was really good.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But, okay, so full disclosure, some ground rules. We are going to be talking about Sonic 3. Like, if you do not want to get spoiled, which is a great movie, I wouldn't want to spoil it for someone, go listen to another video, go watch the Sonic 3 movie in theaters, and then when you see it, you can come on back and listen to this.
We'll be here waiting for you. We promise you that. We're going to go a little deep dive in today's podcast episode because I just watched the Sonic 3 movie yesterday. And Lycos, how many times have you watched it now? Like 40 times?
So yesterday was the second time I've seen the movie. And then actually I'm going to be seeing it a third time in like a week or so. Needless to say, good. I really like this movie.
It's that good. It's that good a movie. I had all forms of emotional tinglies during that movie, from the nostalgia to did I mention nostalgia? It was great. It was great. So that's what we're chatting about. Sonic 3 movie, because it's fresh in our minds. We want to jump right into it. For me, like the fact that we have Shadow in the movie v Sonic goes back to my favorite video game probably of all time, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. And there were references to speak of.
Yeah.
There were very nice references.
I feel like we should kind of go into some meat and potatoes of this. So, with Shadow, they completely changed his backstory.
That they did. It was completely different.
It works. It legitimately works. I'm actually not mad at all. Like, I'm like...
Yeah.
Because... Again, like how it is originally was Gerald makes Shadow with the help of Black Doom. We've talked about this in a previous episode, but in the Sonic movie, it's just he's in a meteor that crashes on Earth. Boom, he's an alien. And it's like, okay.
And instead of the story of Gerald Robotnik kind of dying and wanting revenge on the world, he still does want revenge on the world, but he's actually still alive, and he was in a prison bunker giving the plans to create the Eclipse Cannon to Gun, as opposed to them working on it together while he was still alive.
And actually also with that, he traded the design of the Eclipse Cannon and everything for his freedom.
What else was different? There was also there's no space colony arc.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest weird thing to me, because like part of why Shadow is the way he is in like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is he literally has no connection to Earth. Because he's
never seen it before. He was never on Earth.
Exactly. It was just this blue ball they stared at from the Ark.
Yeah, and Maria as well. She had the same experiences. Because I don't remember, did Maria in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle lore, has she ever been on Earth?
Yes.
I don't think she was for long.
Well,
because of her terminal illness to be sent up to the Ark to find a cure for her.
Yeah, I think
in the movie, Maria does make an appearance, but instead of there being a space colony Ark, there is a secret base on Earth where they're basically experimenting with Shadow. It seems like the purpose of the facility was specifically Shadow and his, quote, chaos power, chaos energy.
Yeah, because basically they established that, he emits chaos energy, which that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, in the context of the movie universe, we have only just briefly touched upon the Chaos Emeralds, and we really haven't talked about the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald, which is the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and like super energy. Like, we really haven't talked about it too much. So they can kind of do whatever they want to explain like this energy source. I think for all intents and purposes, from what we find in Sonic 3, Shadow can generate chaos energy. And if Shadow can generate chaos energy, I'm willing to bet that Sonic's energy is also chaos energy, but maybe slightly different.
Yeah, and also like with Shadow emitting chaos energy, he can actually still utilize it to use some of like his abilities that he could do via chaos control. The biggest one that they loved using in the movie was his teleport.
Yep. And he teleported at will. He didn't need a Chaos Emerald for it.
He didn't need to chaos control. He just went whoop, 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 boom.
Yep. I do remember in one of the final fight scenes of the movie, you see him use Chaos Spear in space. But that was only when he went super. And to be fair, I think Chaos Sphere was not something that I don't think that's something he had access to. Oh, no. He did have access to Chaos Spear in the original game.
Yeah,
in the
because
multiplayer mode, I think.
Yeah. It was the multiplayer and also the when you have to fight him like
Yes.
like near the end of the story.
Yeah.
Because I remember struggling on that fight actually. I think it was either on stream or in the video.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Seeing the super variant of that was really cool. Where
That was
instead of
really,
like,
really cool.
Like one spear, it was a circle of 12, and then another circle, and then another circle, and it's just like,
I assume he can summon as many Chaos Spears as he wants to, given the amount of power he's able to generate at a particular time.
Mhm.
We also notice on the topic of Shadow generating energy, he generates it just like, I guess, ambiently by just existing, but he can run real fast and create more of it.
Yeah, because that's what he uses to power the arc, or not the arc, excuse me, the Eclipse Cannon.
The Eclipse Cannon.
Which, it's interesting that basically for this, the Eclipse Cannon still runs on Chaos Energy, but how they get it is just from Shadow. How they don't need the emeralds at all, versus in the games, it only fired at full. It would only fire at full power if you had all 7. Because what? It was like half power with 6, or partial power with 6.
Yeah. And that's when Eggman pissed on the moon. Partial power. Partial power moon pissing.
As his death threat, where he's like, "Oh, I just took out a chunk of the moon. Like, give me the Earth now." You have 10 minutes.
I love how they also had the moon pissing reference in the movie. During the final scene when the Eclipse Cannon is fired. It is fired at the Earth.
Yes.
And then as opposed to Supersonic and Super Shadow defeating the Bio Lizard, which also made an appearance, they block the laser long enough for basically the cannon to be shifted to point not to Earth. But it takes a chunk out of the moon in the collateral damage of it all.
I did it! I saved the Earth! Pisses on the moon. Look what you two did!
Look what you did. It was great. The dynamic between Gerald Robotnik and Ivo Robotnik was so fun to watch. And I don't know about you. So what happens is Gerald's like, "I'm here. I'm your grandpappy." And they're like two little Eggmen in a pod. Two little Eggmen in an egg basket. They are happy-go-lucky. They're so happy to see each other. They're reliving all their best family moments, including Christmas and stuff, until the very last moment when, of course, Gerald's like, "I'm going to destroy the whole world." And I was like, "No, you shouldn't do that." And Gerald's like, "Oh yeah." And you're going.
We want to rule the world. And he's like, "No, I want to destroy the world." And a line that he delivers that absolutely hits is when Robotnik is like, "Oh, but it's you and I, like family," and he's like, "Oh, Ivo, you're no Maria."
Ooh, yes. Ooh. Yes.
Like
oh my God, that.
You could feel that. It's just like,
dude. Oh. And the betrayal for Ivo, I guess he totally deserves. Like, he's been a dick to Agent Stone this whole time. Like, it's got to come back around. And then granted, that is also, he's not very nice to Sonic and friends.
I will say this actually, it almost kind of worked out in a thing I was thinking about before the movie. So kind of before going in, because I was under the impression, I'm like, there's no way Gerald can be alive because the math doesn't add up, which I'll talk about that in a hot second.
Okay. Yeah.
So my first idea was, what if someone disguised themselves as Gerald Robotnik, so that way they would have Shadow tied around their finger, and he would be none the wiser.
Okay. Oh, you've got theories.
Except instead, so how the movie actually worked was Gerald was still alive, and he basically did the same thing to Robotnik. Had him tied around his finger so he would blindly follow his orders.
Yeah. And to be fair, too, like the question I had, too, was, how, and they addressed it in the movie. Gerald is over 100 years old.
Yes.
How did he do that?
In the movie, he is 110. So that means he was 60 years old when the Shadow incident happened, where Maria gets killed and Shadow's locked up. So I was scrolling around on the internet because now it's bombarding me with Sonic 3 stuff. And apparently, so how Gerald is alive, or at least how we theorized, is he's been using Shadow's quill and basically using that chaos energy to live longer.
That's my theory.
We are actually kind of right on the money about that because apparently, according to an article I read, there was a deleted scene where he was going to say that the reason he's still young he's still alive was the chaos energy was keeping him young, and he was getting the chaos energy from the Shadow's quill.
Classic. That kind of goes back to our Chaos Emerald episode when we talked about what is chaos energy, and it's basically the living energy of thoughtful beings. And you would assume that if you could harness the power of chaos, whether Chaos Emerald chaos energy or Shadow chaos energy, you might have effective immortality.
Yeah.
Maybe. Classic trope, people searching for immortality.
Utilizing the fact that Shadow can generate enough of it to be extracted from him.
And contained.
Yeah, and contained, because they have jars of the stuff.
They do. And as opposed to in the video game where Maria dies via nefarious projectile methods, in the movie, Maria dies because of collateral damage from a breached container of chaos energy. Which, granted, was also defiled via projectile weaponry.
Yeah, but I think that also kind of plays back with chaos energy, because we can see it be used for good and all that, but can also be incredibly unstable and very destructive, because when that canister was shot, and this was in a block of I would say what, at least 4x4.
Yeah.
This entire thing blows up and blows up the entire lab.
Yeah. And I wonder how much progress they made, because that was back in the 1970s when the chaos energy was 1974.
Because if you do the math, it has to be 1974, because then that's 26 years, 2000, and then 24 more years, 2024.
Yeah. So at that point, they must have had further experiments with chaos energy going forward to have been able to develop the Eclipse Cannon in Shadow's absence. But also, they used a bit of weaponry in the movie, like the little ball that could generate black holes, a miniature black hole. I think that ran on chaos energy.
Also, the firearms that the gun soldiers were using
I think they were
in the lab, because it's also that same orange energy that they were using to depict chaos energy in the canisters.
And the coloration of the energy, I don't know if it's supposed to be a connection or not, but the fact that, Shadow generates the yellow energy, yellow-orange. Sonic appears to generate blue. Those are both Chaos Emerald colors.
Yeah.
I wonder if the color energy is going to be explored maybe in the next movie.
I'm also curious, because the energy that the modern gun agents were using was blue. Remember, they're
I didn't catch that.
So
I didn't catch that.
Well, then it could be coincidence, but it could also be, what if maybe they have a sonic quill and are using that?
That's possible. That's an open question. If the energy from the beams in the lab were orange, corresponding to Shadow, and the beams in Gun headquarters was blue, corresponding to Sonic, does that mean that Gun is ahead of the game in terms of Chaos, Sonic, Shadow, energy? I wonder how deep that goes in terms of, because I think for the most part, is it safe to say that really it's only Eggman who's interested in getting a hold of Sonic for his energy?
Yeah.
Because Gun just seems to let him be.
Yeah. Gun, as long as we can count on you to help the world not be destroyed, we'll keep you around, because I mean, it's part of wasn't that part of their deal at the end of the first movie? It's been a while since I've seen the first one, so forgive me if I'm wrong.
No, that's fair. And I think, I wonder if they're not as concerned with Sonic, because up until the events of the third movie, they had Shadow. Or at least they had him under lockdown.
Yeah, they had him.
So maybe they were we don't need Sonic. We have this other life form that produces this really awesome energy, this chaos energy.
Yeah.
Now that they don't have Shadow, I wonder if now Gun will take a more intimate interest in Sonic, because now they don't have their source of infinite energy. That could be interesting. I wanna talk about all of the points in the movie that made me feel so incredibly nostalgic.
Okay.
In the very beginning, we hear the acoustic guitar of Live and Learn. Ever so briefly. And I was like, oh my God, are they doing it?
Yeah, no.
And then it went away for a little bit.
That was me when I first saw that scene. I was the immediate second I heard the guitar strings, I was just that's Live and Learn. Do 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 do. And I'm like, and
A little bit later, there was another scene when we were talking about Maria. It was only when we were kind of giving info about Shadow's backstory or Maria there was another little guitar riff that was a little bit further into the song. Midway through the movie, I thought, oh, maybe they're just going to be having the whole entire song like acoustically throughout the movie in pieces as we get to it. But towards the end, we get the big finale and they give the live and learn as they're up in space battling in their super forms.
ah,
Oh, it's so cool. And they did the pose. They did the freaking pose.
they
They're
did the
both
pose.
like, of course they did. They had to do it.
Dude, that pose and that song are iconic. That's at least 20 years that song has been around.
I got a date. June 19th, 2001. 2001. So it's been 23 years. Yeah.
Going with the nostalgia, like one thing I absolutely adored was beginning of the movie, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails are all racing. When they get to the goal, it is a wooden post that when Sonic spins past it, it spins. And I'm like, oh, like the stage clear thing in the older games. I'm like, that's really cute. I like that a lot.
I loved there was a scene where Maria, it was either Maria alone or Maria and Shadow watching quote unquote Godzilla.
Yes.
Maybe not Godzilla. It was the Bio Lizard.
Dude,
it was the Bio Lizard.
Dude,
I was like, oh my god.
You freaked out just like I did when that scene first played. Because I'm like, that's a freaking Bio Lizard.
To paint the picture for y'all, in the movie theater, like Lycos has seen the movie once already. This is my first time watching it. Every single time a reference came up or something, I was like, oh my God, they're doing the thing. I would like tap him and be like, buddy, it's great. I felt like a kid. It was wonderful.
Dude, it hit all of the right notes.
I love the fact that, they had a little place called the Chow Garden in Tokyo. That was like,
that was so cute. Nice. And honestly, because it's Japan, I could actually buy that being a real thing in Japan.
Yeah. And two as well. I don't know if you watched any of like the promotional material that was coming out like now and previously before the movie came out, but they were using a lot of they were using those Chow costumes in more context. I actually just saw a TikTok today where it was like, choose Team Sonic or Team Shadow. And it was the purple Chow, the green Chow, and the blue Chow. And they all picked Team Sonic. And then the dark Chow, like with the droopy eyes and stuff, just like walked off the Team Shadow. I thought was very cute.
Oh, that's cute.
You were saying during the ending scene that the end song was playing.
Yes. That like near the end of the movie, like the song that's playing in the background is the ending of Sonic Adventure 2 when like all the characters are monologuing about like, oh, what are you going to do now? Of those like those interactions, I think my favorite one is Eggman and Tails, because Eggman's like, I can't believe what my grandfather wanted, because he was fooled in the games and he was fooled in the movie where he's like, yeah, I wanted to rule the world, but my grandfather wanted it destroyed.
To destroy it. Yeah. I like that they kept that though. I'll admit, I was kind of going for the ride a little bit when I was like, is Gerald like, is he not trying to destroy the world?
Again, that goes back to the whole thing of wrapped Eggman around his finger and not telling him the full plan.
Yeah. Another iconic line. I know the Maria one really got you. That was so good. But they also said the thing in the helicopter before they jumped into Tokyo. The whole like what is it? No in-flight movie or snacks?
Yeah, like no snacks or in-flight movie. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. It was so good. Dude, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, are we getting city escape? Oh my God, is he gonna start like using a thing to escape through the city?
I wish.
But that's okay.
Though I will say, actually recently in toy stores, I have seen a RC toy that is Sonic on the piece of the helicopter.
On the thing?
I saw this at somewhere. I was like, I think I even sent it to you because I'm like, dude, check out what they have now. I would have lost it as a kid. I'd be like, I need it. But now I'm just like, that's funny. I love it.
I just had a random thought.
Yes.
You were saying earlier that your theory for Gerald Robotnik prior to seeing the movie was maybe somebody was like pretending to be him.
Yes.
Maybe shapeshifting to be him.
Yeah. But
one of the stingers at the end of the movie, you see Sonic face to face with Metal Sonic and Metal Sonics. There were multiple of them.
Yeah.
And the thought occurred to me, what if Gerald Robotnik actually wasn't alive at all? the plans for the Eclipse Cannon were actually all just guns. Metal Sonic is actually Neo Metal Sonic, who transformed to look like the many Metal Sonics, but also Gerald. And Gerald was never really alive to begin with. And it's a whole big conspiracy because conspiracies are happening like that.
So the Stinger, we see Metal Sonic and we see Amy. And the big thing that actually made me think was, first off, Metal Sonic kind of just appears like almost like Terminator, like from the future kind of style.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And the other thing that caught me was, did you get a good look at Amy's hammer?
No, I don't think I did.
It had lights and was more mechanical than it normally is in the game. So I'm like, is this Amy from the future?
That's a thought.
So I was like, okay, maybe theorizing for Sonic 4, are we going to deal with time travel or alternate dimensions, because those are both things in the Sonic universe?
Or, in Sonic Adventure 1, we have a bit of time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the Chaos incident.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a little bit of Chaos in there, which would be so cool.
The only weird thing on that one is we don't get Metal Sonic in Sonic Adventure. Okay, you can see him in a capsule in Eggman's base, and then you can play as him if you get all the emblems.
Yeah. And I guess, like, we see Metal Sonic most prominently in Sonic Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have Team Sonic now. Amy Rose just popped into the picture. We have Shadow now for, like, Team Dark.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we get, like, a Heroes thing where now Metal Sonic takes upon his own accord to go out and try to take over the world without Eggman.
I actually had this thought on my ride back home today, was, let's say we're dealing with time travel.
Sure.
And who would be very upset that Eggman is gone?
Stone.
My thought was, what if in the future Stone is so horribly depressed and mad that Eggman is dead that he made Metal Sonic to go back in time to kill Sonic? I had
I love that. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that.
I had this theory on the way home, and I'm like, holy shit, they could do that.
That would be so cool. Yeah. And then if you have things playing around with the time, don't get me wrong, we have like Sonic Generations that has time travel in it. We've got Sonic 06, which has Silver the Hedgehog from the future and different futures and stuff. We could be going straight to Sonic 06 territory.
We could.
Because we've got Sonic and Shadow. We just need the other hedgehog.
And also the fact that if the movie will take like 2 years to make, that will be the 20-year anniversary of 06.
Okay, that's clearly a theory here.
Yeah, that was just my brain theory, and I'm like, ooh, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And again, I personally would love if they did kind of some stuff with 06. Not only because I'm playing it
remade, dude.
But, like, literally, some of the producers at Sonic have said, like, I would, like, one of the head producers, I think, said, I would love to do like a new 06.
Yeah.
Or like a remaster.
I mean, they've got the updated models and stuff, because Mephiles, I believe, is in the new Sonic X Shadow Generations. Yeah.
Well, that I didn't know. But like,
now you do.
They've obviously been keeping up with the silver models, absolute minimum in the Olympic Games series.
Yeah, I mean, Silver's made more appearances in games.
Oh yeah, no, he's in a ton of games. It's just they don't like talking about 06.
And canonically, Sonic does not remember who Elise is.
Yes, because I was literally just thinking that.
One of the other promotional materials leading up to the movie has been like Shadow takes over the social media of Sonic, Sega team. And they have a little interview like between Sonic and Shadow of them answering like the audience's questions.
Yeah, and when he took it over, instead of it being the traditional like hashtag Ask Sonic, they made it hashtag Ask Shadow, because it's like the year of Shadow.
Yeah, which I think was incredibly good.
Oh yeah, like
Sonic. The year of Shadow was great.
Oh yeah, actually, funny enough, Sonic 3 actually beat a Guinness World Record.
Really?
It's a weird one. It's very obscure, but it's
I need to know.
Funny. So the team behind like some of the promotion stuff for Sonic 3, they broke the Guinness World Record for the largest projected shadow in the world.
Like Shadow the Hedgehog.
No, like when you're projecting a shadow onto something, like a wall.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they beat the world record for that because they projected a outline of Shadow to promote the movie on, I believe it was the American Dream Mall.
Was it really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I found this out earlier today. I was reading up on it, and apparently
Dang.
this shadow beat the record for the
That's
largest
impressive.
projected shadow. And I'm like,
Wow, man,
that
what
is
won't
hilarious.
you go through to market up your hedgehogs?
And I mean, Sonic 3 has been doing amazing in the box office.
Yeah, if it's beat up the other movies that have come out, like
Yeah.
Mufasa,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is flopping right now because of Shadow. I wonder how it'll do with the other movies. Again, we are what, 3 days after the movie came out?
I want this series to continue because I was hesitant
it
on the
clearly
first
is.
one, but like the team behind these movies has done an absolutely amazing job. Like not
Yeah.
only the teams behind them, but also like the actors portraying the characters.
And I love the fact that they respond to like the audience's feedback. Like this is clearly a passion project for a lot of people, and they're getting
Yeah.
paid to do it naturally.
Mhm.
Like when they redesigned Sonic from ugly Sonic to
Oh my
better looking
God,
Sonic.
yeah.
Just Jim Carrey being like, I'm not retiring because I'm gonna do this movie as Robotnik. And he is the character. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And even some of the behind the scenes stuff of like how they actually filmed the movie. I saw another behind the scenes things today where the scene where Stone is shaving Robotnik?
Yeah.
That's actually Jim Carrey's hair.
Oh wow.
He had been growing it out for a full year. And during the process, like the actor who portrayed Stone was being instructed by Jim Carrey to like, all right, you're going to pull my hair like this. You're going to go like that. And you're going to do like this. And we're going to do like, and it was all wonderfully done.
And
It was beautiful.
I mean, that's not the only scene where Jim Carrey took the reins on it.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Oh, yeah.
big one that I think we talked about off camera was there's a scene where Ivo and Gerald are doing a dance number together.
Ooh,
that was
the
Jim
pushing
Carrey.
the button one. Oh man, that was so well done. Did he choreograph it? Do you know?
I don't know if he choreographed it. I know
Okay.
part of the dance is a reference to another movie. I think it's Dirty Dancing.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
I think it's like
Dirty Dancing with your grandpa.
Yeah, I think it was the move at the end where Ivo is holding up Gerald. I think that is a reference to Dirty Dancing. I think
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I had been seeing the memes up to the movie of him being like, "I've got my hand on the button. I'm going to push the button," and I didn't get the reference to the meme, but it's a song that plays during the laser game.
I actually was really blind to all of like this stuff going in. Like I think I watched the trailer like only like once, I think, because the big takeaway, I was like, oh, cute, shower back. That's going to be awesome.
And I know, like, I've been seeing more recent news articles, too, about people talking, like, is the Chow Garden coming back or not? And I believe they do have intent to do something with Chow beyond just the Paramount.
Well, I mean,
but don't quote me on that.
I mean, dude, as we talked about in our Chow episode, like, people want Chow Gardens back. I mean, that's part of why...
we do,
that's
Sega.
part of why, things like Bobo Bay are doing really well.
Doing
because
great.
people want the Chow Garden back. Sega,
Yeah.
please. Pretty please.
Yeah.
Cherry on top.
Oh, I want to say another reference that came to my head was of the Robotnik specifically is I think Eggman's ringtone is "I am the Eggman."
Yes, because I know
love that reference.
I love that song. So like the moment like I heard that gear shift and like the intro, I'm just like, yes, that is his theme.
The island that they were keeping Gerald on,
Shadow.
Where they were keeping Shadow, I think, is called Prison Island, and I want to say that's the same name as in the game.
Yes. Where, it appears in Sonic Adventure 2 with Shadow, and then actually you revisit it later in Shadow the Hedgehog. That's one of the stages.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There we go. Prison Island's a replace. In the context of this Sonic universe.
I was reading an article where it's like, 30 Easter eggs you may have missed. And a lot of them are like, okay, yep, saw that. There's one I strongly disagree with. I think the person who wrote that is stupid because of it.
So, judgmental over here, like us.
Yes, very judgmental because they insulted my boys.
So the egg robos?
Yes. So basically they're like, the robots that are deployed at Sonic and Shadow from the Ark are a reference to the E100s. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're a reference to the gun robots, which are enemies in Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, that's what they look more like.
Yeah, in Shadow the Hedgehog. Are they in another game as well? I don't...
There was a little miniature figure that I think Robotnik was holding during one of the scenes, like in the bunker. it looked like an Egg Robo color.
It was Prison Island. It was on the desk of one of the gun agents monitoring Shadow.
Yeah. That looked like Omega.
Yeah, it did. Like, it had big hands, but the problem is because of the lighting in the scene, you can't really get a good look at it. So we can't tell if that is supposed to be Omega or not. Maybe it's supposed to be a generic robot. Maybe it is a reference to a gun robot.
Later on, there is Robotnik is holding like a little toy in the broken down lab. And it looks like it's got the similar color scheme to the egg, like the traditional Egg Robos. I don't think it's actually their Egg Robos. I think it just has a similar color scheme. I think it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Or strategic placement of that could be the Robo quasi reference.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Going back to that location and kind of like what they're talking about in that scene of the movie is one thing I actually want to give this movie big props for was how they portrayed Maria. We actually don't get a lot of information about like Maria in the games, but here we see she's just a kid. Like, she's a wacky, fun kid. Yeah. When she sees Shadow, he's like glaring at her. She glares at him back, starts laughing, and then the glass draws a big bunny face around him.
They did a really nice job portraying like what the supposed dynamic between like Maria and Shadow are. Like, they're childhood friends. They're best friends. All they had was each other. I didn't see any other kids in that facility.
No.
At all. Well, so it's just the two of them.
Yeah, and again, it was basically because the guards were like, oh, well, obviously it's like a secret military base, and they're thrown off when they see Maria until what's the guy's name? Captain Walters, something like that.
Captain Walters, I think. Yeah.
Who he's like, oh, he's the doctor's granddaughter. He takes her everywhere.
Yeah. And two, like, and this is a point that you brought up that apparently they are the only small creatures in that lab facility. And even during the scene that we see when cataclysmically almost everybody except for Gerald and Shadow die, the guards refer to the both of them as those are children. Well, plural. Well, as if to imply that Shadow and Maria are both kids.
Walters identifies them as kids because obviously like he sees Maria as a kid.
Yeah.
And I know there was another scene supporting that he saw Shadow as a child as well. But in that scene before the guard shoots and ends up blowing the thing up, wiping out Maria, he said, don't shoot, those are children. And the only people in that direction are Gerald, Maria, and Shadow.
Yeah. Metaphor there about like old people.
Yeah. And so with Walters, I remember, I don't remember where I saw this or if I was talking to someone about it, but someone got the vibe that was like Captain Abraham Tower, which I'm like,
too much of an age difference.
Well, one, the age difference, because during the Shadow incident, Abraham Tower was a kid in the games. And also, as you just pointed out, the eyes are wrong because Captain Abraham Tower has heterochromia versus Walters, I don't think does.
Yeah, I just don't think like there's no analog to Abraham Tower, and there just is no Abraham Tower, at least in this chronology. It seems.
Or at least if there are, they have not been introduced yet.
Yeah, and maybe in the next movie they'll be like, oh, actually there was a third kid, and it was Tower, and he's still out there, and he made Middle Sonic, or he grew up to have a child who is Stone.
Because one thing I am thinking of what they're planning on doing is. So the other stinger of the movie is obviously Shadow isn't dead. So
he
I'm expecting they're going to give him the Knuckles treatment and he's going to get his own spin-off show. And that might be where they add characters like Abraham Tower and maybe even Team Dark because that's Shadow's thing.
Or maybe we get a little bit more background as to Shadow's origins, because to be fair, we didn't have any mention of Black Doom.
Yes.
But did you recall, like, did the comet look black when it hit the Earth?
Well,
it could be a black comet.
Yeah, it could be a fragment of the Black Comet. And maybe that could be something that they're going to go into. Like, they sent Shadow as, like, a scout.
Yeah.
And maybe have, like, I don't know, maybe a Goku situation where the moment he hit Earth, he forgot what he was supposed to do.
Oh, totally. A glitch in the system.
Exactly.
That would be interesting.
Well, I befriended this little girl. And I
didn't want you to do that.
Daddy, no! You're not my real dad.
Actually, I am. Sure, this time.
This is the paternity test.
Gerald is not your daddy.
And then everybody's shocked. They're like, Gerald's not the father. And Gerald's just like, ha. But he's vaporized
Freedom.
now. Gerald's vaporized. He's gone. At least
That was
seemed
the
like
thing
that
that
way.
I was actually kind of surprised that it almost felt very casual how they got rid of Gerald.
They did. Gerald quite literally just was vaporized.
Yeah.
That was it. In a split second.
Yeah,
That was
they zap him in the butt with a quill, and then he flies off into an energy
But-
turbine and just gets incinerated.
But I think that's probably that's just the MO for the Robotniks, because Gerald was going to quite literally drop Ivo into the depths of space into the beam of the Eclipse cannon. And so in
Yeah.
return, he's like, all right, well, if you're just going to drop me off the face of the not space colony, then I'll just poke you into the vaporizers.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just right into the energy.
Yep.
Or maybe he's not actually dead. He became superpowered and he's going to come back as some other character.
Actually, thank you for reminding me of that. That I thought was very
you're welcome.
interesting, showing like the strength difference between Shadow and Sonic. So there's a scene where Shadow hits Sonic hard enough to knock the emeralds out of him. Literally.
You're right. You're right. You're totally right. I wonder
Mhm.
if that's him expressing chaos control, because he's never touched the Chaos Emeralds before.
That's fit.
That could have been his first time being like, whoa, my power can do this to these gems? Don't know how that happened.
Well, also, it could be just his strength. He punches Tom right in the gut and sends him to the hospital.
That's fair. Knocks him right out.
Yeah, they imply that Tom is fighting for his life.
Yeah.
So it's like
Like it was a
how
solid
strong
punch.
is Shadow?
Yeah.
But like, and that's just his physical strength. That's not including momentum, because like when he hit Tom, he had momentum
Oh yeah. And I'm
because
pretty
he
sure
thought
we
he was
see,
Walters.
I'm pretty sure we also see even take his single quill. Oh wait, actually, was that Sonic's quill or Shadow's quill that he got poked with, Gerald?
That's Sonic's quill.
Was Sonic's quill. Okay. I was going to comment that quill had enough power to send him from 0 miles an hour to a lot more right into the beam.
But
with a
that's
single
also
piece.
because Sonic's quill at the time was super.
Yeah.
Because Sonic was currently in super state. The fight scene between Super Sonic and Super Shadow going across the Earth, like
That
first
was
off, the
so cool to
physical
watch.
damage to the Earth, where it's like the crust was breaking, lava was leaking, and then like they're zipping literally all across the Earth, punching each
Yeah.
other. That was very much like Dragon Ball to me. That's a very Dragon Ball thing to do, but it's also so cool. I don't think in any of the Sonic games we really had something like that where two super state users are fighting like that.
Yeah.
Because in
It's-
Adventure 2, Sonic and
Yeah.
Shadow, by the time they go super, they're
They're not fighting.
they're on the same side.
Yeah.
I think we kind of had that in Chronicles of the Dark Brotherhood, because Ix goes
Oh,
super
yeah.
state, except
Super
you're not
Ix.
punching each other across the planet.
No. It was really, really cool to see them show the relative power dynamic between Super Shadow and Super Sonic
Mm-hmm.
when they're against each other. And to boot too, they acknowledge that even in non-super form, Sonic clearly admits that Shadow is stronger. He's got 50 years on him, I guess. We don't really know how old Sonic is,
And
but he's
also
definitely
the
not
fact
50
that
years
like
old.
I was gonna say, oh well, Shadow's an alien, and I'm like, oh well, so Sonic.
Yeah,
so
still Sonic, right? Yeah. But he needed to get the superpower to even think of fighting up against Shadow.
yeah.
And then they have a cute little moment on the moon after all is said and done. They're like, I guess we go save the Earth, shouldn't we? It was very well done.
Mhm.
I loved being able to see the comparison between Super Sonic and Super Shadow. That juxtaposition was really cool to watch. It was also really cool to see how they use the power as a means to kind of divvy up who does what. They both block the Eclipse Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a deflection. They're absorbing the energy
Yeah.
enough to completely stop it from hitting the Earth, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
And then Shadow goes out to
Well,
push
actually,
the arc
Are
as
they
it's exploding.
absorbing it? Because I thought
don't
they were
know.
mainly basically using themselves as a shield, and it was dispersing around them. I don't think absorb would be the right word, only because Sonic
must
runs
be
out
like
of juice.
He does. It is. And he doesn't lose any rings. There are no rings.
There are no rings.
Not the rings that we know them as.
Mm-hmm.
Got the warp rings.
But yeah, he runs out of juice and falls.
And then Team Sonic goes to save him. Overall, because of the fact that this this is replaying the events from my favorite game of all time. I am so biased in saying I freaking love this movie. I would love to watch it again. I want to listen to the soundtrack of this so much to catch all the other little nitty gritty things that I missed audibly.
Yeah, because
while we were on the big screen.
Real, like I actually noticed that when I was watching the second time, it's really hard to listen to the music because it's so much quieter than like all the action going on.
Totally.
So it was hard for me to pick it up, and I'm like, I might as well just try and wait and see if they release like the OST for it. So that way I can listen, try and see like, oh, the hues and cues, and maybe like
I hope so.
Pick up on songs I missed that they used.
Yeah.
But I do strongly agree that like this movie is awesome. Sonic Adventure 2 is not my favorite game. It's actually the original Sonic Adventure, but this was still a fantastic movie. Again, like despite like all the changes they've made, like it still works. It's still a really fun, good movie.
I can't wait to see what happens next with introducing 2 more different characters at the same time. It'd be really cool to see Shadow get his own spin-off series. I never watched the Knuckles series, and I really should. Have you watched it yet?
I have not.
Okay.
And yeah, that is something I want to do as well.
Because I want to see. I like the fact that we're at a point now where we can watch the Paramount universe of Sonic unfold because it's cool to see all the different details. And to be perfectly honest, I want to go back and I want to watch the first Sonic movie. I want to go back and I want to watch the second Sonic movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there were also more details in those that I really didn't catch on to. Because I liked from what I recall, I liked the Knuckles dynamic. It was good enough to get a spin-off show, apparently. And I like the fact they established the Sonic world pretty well with the new rules and regulations that this abides by. I will say my partner, Disney Queen, when we were coming back from the movie, it was like, I feel like the Sonic movie was all exposition. It was kind of slow. The second movie fleshed out the characters a bit more. And this movie just had so much room to play because of what had been set up with the foundation earlier.
Yeah, they got the foundation so they didn't need to waste screen time with exposition.
Yeah.
In some cases, they literally like make a joke on the exposition.
Also, too, Robotnik is self-aware of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He broke the fourth wall. The two of them both broke the fourth wall.
Oh, my God. That scene is so funny. I loved that. Like I'm actually kind of mixed because I'm like, part of me is like, oh, it's kind of cheesy because they take you out of the scene. But I'm like, but it's really funny, though. And I love that he calls that out. Or it's just like, it's almost like we're 2 characters in a movie played by the same actor.
Yeah, it was so good. That was so funny. It killed me.
Also, this movie, like, it has like these really great action moments, but also has these really good comedic moments as well.
Yeah.
So
and they use it really well. Like whether it's inside of the gun fortress, whether it's the Shadow going boo inside of the lab,
or even
like Knuckles like, I'm not afraid of ghosts, boo.
Or even having the very serious Commander Walter in the Chow Garden with
very
Sonic,
classy.
Knuckles, and Tails.
Very good. There was a lot of very nice like subtle comedic moments there. Like they knew what they were doing, and they took it in a direction that was serious enough for the characters with enough comic relief to kind of like, you know, to have something to foil it with. Because Paramount Sonic, very, very silly.
Like Paramount Sonic gives me like the same vibes, and my partner has had this thought as well, is like very reminiscent of like Spider-Man.
Sure.
Because like Spider-Man, I'm not entirely sure about like Tom Holland, only because like I haven't really watched those movies, but like definitely like in the video games, he's very like charismatic and like makes jokes while he's dealing with criminals. Like there's a scene in the first Spider-Man game for the PS4 where a guy steals a vault from a bank, and one of the lines Spider-Man makes when he's chasing him down is like, dude, you're so lucky you found a bank that actually had cash. Good for you.
That's sort of like self-aware humor. Sonic, I think, does pretty well. And he kind of does that in some of his games, too. I can't think of a specific example, but he's the kind of character who I feel like would expose the medium that he lives within. Not super duper fourth wall breaky. Apparently, that's just Eggman's deal.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's Jim Carrey. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Let the egg cook. Let him boil. Let the heart boil.
How are we cooking? Are we scrambled? Are we boiled? What are we
You're
doing,
poaching
Chief?
this joke, dude. You're poaching it. Closing thoughts on the movie? Like, is there anything else that you can think of? I wanted, if you had to pick one of the 3 movies that have come out so far as your favorite, what do you got?
Oh man, that's tough.
It's so easy for me. It's Sonic 3. I loved it so much.
Because I did really like the first one. Actually, I think it's kind of funny in my brain. So I'm seeing Sonic 3 times. I saw Sonic 2 1 time. And I saw Sonic 2 times.
Hey, that's your demon to fight. No, that's good.
But no,
honestly, I
think...
want to take all the movies home and I want to watch them all.
No, I legitimately
so I
I'm like, I kind of wish I had the other 2 on DVD so I could rewatch them. But I'm like, this one, no, that is a snap buy for me when that comes out on DVD. I'm like, I want that. These movies are great. Again, huge shout out to like the team who worked on them, like the script writers, like the set design, like special effects, everything. The actors who play the characters, they're all great. I want them to keep making these movies, not only as a Sonic fanboy, but as someone who casually goes to the movies to see these, because I'm like, these are fun, awesome movies, and I cannot wait to see more.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't think of any criticisms that I have for the movie. I'm not much of a movie critic. I was so rose tinted shaded by, oh my God, it's my favorite video game that I'm seeing on the big screen like 20 something years later. I was like, I have no criticisms. I just loved it so much. I'm completely enamored by this movie. I guess whatever happens with Sonic 4, 5, 6, 7, all the Sonics.
Dude,
how many Sonic movies are we getting, man?
I mean, hey,
come on, Paramount.
Listen, man, as long as we keep getting Sonic movies, you can bet your bottom that we are going to talk about them and watch them.
Can we get more short Sonic, please?
Short Sonic?
Schwartz.
Oh,
Schwartz Sonic.
Ben
Schwartz Sonic.
Oh, Ben Schwartz absolutely kills the role. Like, dude, that guy's awesome.
I saw another behind the scenes where apparently they weren't totally bought in on Schwartz Sonic.
Really?
They got him for a 5-minute, I think, a teaser reel that they were trying to sell to the different motion picture producers. Paramount got a hold of it naturally and wound up purchasing it. And they were like, yeah, let's just keep with Schwartz. So he wasn't expecting to be Sonic this whole time. Lycos, if you're looking for more behind the scenes stuff of this movie, there's a couple accounts that I can send you on various social medias that are giving like little.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, I think like IGN has been covering it. Some other news outlet is covering it. The Sega official, the Sonic official, like Twitters and stuff are also.
Because I know I've seen some like behind the scenes stuff. But I'm skeptical on the source. But I think one of them was someone was interviewing Keanu Reeves, and they're like, I forget the name of the director of the movie, but it's like, do you know what he has said about working with you on this movie? And he's like, no. He's like, they said like you're an absolutely lovely person to work with, and like this other compliment. And he's like, no, dude, you're lying. Like, no, he can't be saying that. That's really nice of him to say.
Jeff Fowler produced the movie.
Okay, that was it.
And he also produced Sonic 1 and 2 as well.
Again, I want more of these movies. Please keep making them. Keep doing a great job with them.
Indeed. And if you've made it to the end of our LoreX podcast episode and you haven't watched the movie yet and you've just spoiled the entire thing for you, go out and watch the movie.
No, seriously. It is definitely...
Be a part of Sonic history.
Yeah, it is worth the however much a movie ticket costs nowadays. When in doubt, try and go on a Tuesday, like a Tuesday morning. That's when they're like cheapest. And seriously, like this movie is totally worth it. Again, I'm seeing this 3 times in theaters.
And if you grew up absolutely loving the heck out of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and wanting to see like your favorite video game on the big screen, like just go see Sonic 3. Or there's other movies that have done it, like the Mario movie. That was really good. That was really good too. I for one am if you have a piece of nostalgia that you hold close to you and it gets another medium, expose yourself to it again. Yeah. Because I think it's totally worth it. And it might be different, but it might be different in a way that still kind of tugs in your heartstrings. It totally tugged my heartstrings.
Yeah, I mean...
It was great.
I mean, one thing my dad used to say was, like, if you're seeing, like, something redone, his question would be, was it good, was it bad, or was it just different? And for this one, I'm like, it was It was different because they changed a lot of things, but it was still good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all to say about that.
Yeah. So again, if you haven't seen it, and first off, one, why are you here? Second, go see the Sonic movie. You'll enjoy
What
yourself.
are you doing here? Go out and watch Sonic.
Get
3.
out of here. The podcast's
Go
over.
get your movie tickets. Go pirate it or something.
Yeah.
It's a giant movie thing. Just go expose yourself to the movie. That's our little break from our normally scheduled LoreXing.
We will see you next week with our regularly scheduled lore.
What's our next episode?
Next episode going up is our E100 boys.
The boys.
And then after that, do you want to know? Do you really want to know?
Do you want to know what it is?
You got to listen to the next one to find out. So that
Absolutely.
is Lycos Lore and Cameron with an X from the LoreX podcast talking about the Sonic 3 movie, and we will see you in the next one.
Live and learn. This is our ending to the podcast.
Live and learn from the
till the next episode. Da-now. And that's where it ends.